So the Talented Individuals Program, TIP, was really a flagship program that we started to try and understand what are the gaps in our education system that keeps young people from attaining and finishing school. And we're really thinking about what are the policy issues that we need to kind of think about, because a lot of the funding was at this point focused on tertiary level. But we see that there's a significant gap between the learners that graduate secondary school and those who enter into tertiary school. And then when we focus a lot of our funding in tertiary level, and without understanding what are the issues that are messing up young people from participating in secondary school and getting themselves into tertiary, that's when we started to think about what are the lessons that we can start to learn, what are the gaps in that space that we need to be able to understand, so that we're able to then frame and do a comprehensive support system and a support program that can actually speak to where the needs of young people are. And that's how the TIP program was then formed.
In order to understand and appreciate the importance and impact of the TIP program in Namibia, we need not divorce it from national development priorities pertaining to human resources development in general and general education. General education entails secondary and primary schooling. So the NDP4 and NDP5, as well as Harambee Prosperity Plan 1 and 2, place emphasis on improving the delivery and quality of education, especially in public primary and secondary schools, where performance has been very poor. TIP has therefore demonstrated that poor socioeconomic status of any primary school leaving learner cannot determine his or her future destiny. A child from a very poor education background but nurtured in a well-resourced school where teachers are well prepared, well trained, and mentorship given and sustained throughout the program, that is now from grade 8 through to grade 12, as it is in the case of TIP, those children can easily perform and achieve good results at the same level as children coming from the affluent families. And at times they can also outperform them, as TIP has demonstrated.
With a particular focus to think about, we don't want to just throw money at a problem of the high attrition that was going on in our country, but I was really thinking about how do we provide a full comprehensive program that provides medical support, psychosocial support, parental support, tutoring, thinking about issues around the mental health of learners, thinking about providing dignity through pocket money, access to medical services, etc. And when we started to provide a full comprehensive program, we started to see a shift and a change in the quality of the education's outcomes of young people that were participating in this program. So the strategy aligns very closely with what the First Lady has been doing, which is aligned to what the President has been doing, his agenda, which has been about eradicating poverty and really tackling issues around inequality. It's thinking about who is left behind, who is not part of the Namibian house. How do we include those people? How do we include those who are vulnerable, who are not participating, to make sure that they are part of the conversation? So it's really about the value of thinking of inclusivity more than about trying to run a program for a program's sake, because we can do hundreds of programs. And so what we thought about is that from a values perspective, what can we then do strategically that can have long-lasting legacy impact that is going to be able to be transformative? And what we realized is that investment in education has been a critical part of it. And of course, when you think about our program in One Economy, most of our programs are focused on young people. So the Be Free program is focused on young people. We've done regional Be Frees across this country. We're reaching over 100,000 young people. We've worked very closely with, when we engage, for example, service providers, it's mostly people that are working in the youth sphere. So it's social workers, police officers, teachers, life skills teachers, principals. So it's people that are working in the youth space. So we naturally, I think the One Economy Foundation and the First Lady have leaned towards really working with young people and really thinking about how to invest in the development of young people so that they can start becoming transformative leaders in their own right, by giving them confidence, capacity, capital through this investment so that they can become leaders of change in their own space. So what we're looking through when we selected the learners was regional representation. We wanted to make sure that they represent a snapshot of what the experience of young people are in the specific regions. So we're intentional then about selecting young people from as wide and a broad spectrum of the country as possible. Secondly, if a learner, for example, who's a straight A student applied for the program, and there's a learner who's maybe a straight B student who has B's and C's applied for the program, we would then look at not just the academics, but think about what are the life circumstances, and and what would be a transformational investment. So even if a learner necessarily was not necessarily the straight A student, but their circumstances meant that an investment of this nature will transform not only their lives but their families' lives, then that's where we also focus our attention as well. Then of course we also looked about who are the young people in the regions that are not particularly in the mainstream. So we're intentional, for example, about the specific regions that we wanted to reach out to make sure that there's representation from there as well. And we had some, for example, we had a lot of applications from specific regions and less from others. But even though we had less from others, we were intentional about going to those even when we didn't have to actually think about where are these young people that we can be able to find. Because sometimes information, when you broadcast it, only reaches the people that have access to those to that information, and if somebody doesn't have access, they don't actually apply or don't even think they're worthy to apply. So it even meant that for some of the application and recruitment, we actually had to go to some of the regions and actually engage with the young people. They go to some of their homes, go speak to schools, go to speak to community leaders, and then they started to also identify. So we didn't only rely on just the call of applications that we did. We actually did really some follow-ups as well to make sure that the kind of cohort that we're putting together is a reflection of the diverse experience of young people, both those who live in the capital, those who live in the surrounding towns, and those who live in the far edges of our region, so that we make sure that when we speak about education, that it's actually speaking to the lived experiences of these young people.
The TIP program is one from which we can all learn many lessons for supporting and educating young people. It is not only about the money, even though that is critical, and the kind of investments that were made. This program could not have gone forward for 5 years without that.
The way I became part of the TIP program, I remember it was 2016, which was when I was grade 7. I got a chance through my school. One of our teachers, I remember it was my natural science teacher, selected 5 learners that he thought or that he saw that they had the potential. And I remember it was the last day, it was the due date of the TIP program. So he gave us forms that we had to fill in. It was chaos, we had to run home and get our best certificate and everything. So it was through Mr. Kalomo from Aluno Primary School who gave us this platform, and we applied for the TIP Foundation.
I became part of the program in 2016 when I applied because my science teacher pointed out the top students, and he was like, there's this program going on and you guys are supposed to apply. And we did the application and we handed back their form to the teacher. And later, after the August exam, I was notified by my father that I've been accepted and needed to do a admission test at St. Boniface, and I was stunned. And basically I was happy because I liked the school, I heard of it, and I was going to be part of the First Lady sponsors. And
we had to share the little that my mother used to get. So now that I got, when I got into TIP, it was actually a more burden lifted off her, because I can now use my pocket money sometimes to even help them out with the little I have as well. But when I got into the program, it is now that I'm in it, it's actually it's less stressful, because now I don't have to worry on how my mother is going to get money for me to cover up for my school books, and maybe whether my sister is going to have school books to go to school with, because we had to share the money those days.
The challenges I was facing before TIP is I was not able to get all my stationaries, and then at our previous school we did not have all the textbooks, so the teacher will only be having one textbook, and I was not able to fund my studies, also the school fees.
The fact that my mom could not afford what a child would need, that brought for me insecurities, it brought for me doubt, to a point that I just ignored the future. I was like, let's move with the flow, whatever happens, happens.
These learners come from 14 political regions and different socio-cultural background. So mentoring these children into group identity was a must to do. They first identify themselves as children of the First Lady. Then in the process, they got to accept that that program TIP says something about them as a group. So they, up to now, identifying themselves as TIP children. Mentorship was about getting these children also to identify their weaknesses and to speak openly about those weaknesses, communicate openly, both to the program leaders and to the school authorities in terms of the teachers, care teachers, hostel matrons. Wherever there was a problem and identified, professional support and services was solicited for them to be able to cope with the circumstances. These children were very young. Some were missing home, but I think they all had confidence in their future success. I think that was a strong point in the group.
The relevance of the program in terms of the Namibian context is that it unearthed the potentials of the previously disadvantaged children, especially Naka is a bushman, or Sen as they are known, and the access to facilities as these schools of top class, it's very hard for them. Number one, the challenges is being they don't have accommodation here. Secondly, the resources for them to perform to reach here is also, they don't also have that as well.
So when we think about the scope of the young people that we're reaching, the demographics that were spread across the regions, we found that there were region-specific issues such as language that caused young people, for example, not to participate in specific schools. And we're looking for hostels, for example, for some of the learners, and some of the schools that we're looking for in hostels were not offering that specific language, which meant we had to kind of get out of the specific area that we wanted to then focus on. The second thing is around issues of access. So when you think about access to education, what we've done very well is provide free education for everybody. However, a lot of these learners come from very rural areas, some come from very far farm areas, etc. And accessing the schools, accessing that space, then also means that a lot of those schools are under-resourced, and so the quality of what they were being provided for was also challenged. So when we're able to bring those learners, for example, to the Windhoek Gymnasium, Windhoek High School, and St. Boniface, providing a full spectrum at a boarding school, what we're able to then see is that the confidence started to grow. We started to see them build more community. We started to see them participate in other challenge issues such as like extramural activities. We started to see them excel, not just academically, but as a full person, right? And what we realized then is that the challenge is a lot of times when you think about education is very binary, thinking about education only from the classroom level, thinking from only the metrics of the marks that you receive, without thinking about the challenge of investing in the full person.
What it tells us as a system, education system, is that any system educating the children through and putting them through good quality education has to be cognizant that resources are essential for the child to succeed, and support system, be it psychological or educational, those children need that support to be able to pull through, especially that they are away from the parents. The managers managing them became their parents. They adapted very well. None of the TIP child shared a textbook with any other child, which is a characteristic of the Namibian education system. None of those children shared an iPad with another child. And I believe it was not possible for a TIP child to miss doing homework because they had all the resources at their disposal.
I think in Namibia it's no secret that many of our kids do not receive the quality of education that they deserve everywhere in Namibia. So for sure, the TIP program proved once again what the value of good quality education is, and the very positive impact that that has on every single child. And that should really motivate us to raise the standard of education in Namibia for all children, because the future of our country and the prosperity of our country lies in their hands. So we have to take real good care of them and educate them well. I've seen the kids coming in when they were young and very insecure, uncertain, not used to this environment, and where we as a school had to play a very big part, because they have to feel secure and they have to feel safe and they have to feel that they are welcome in this whole environment. And that helped them a lot to adapt well from the school side, but also from the mentorship side. And that really helped them to really bloom into the best characters that they are today.
Okay, the service that I started with is to look after the good standing and the health of all the children. You know, when you are sick, that's what my first thing is. How can you study when you are feeling sick? You know what? So that was my first purpose of helping them with medicine as they need it. You know, you get exhausted through exams, so multivitamins, brain boosters, you know what, stuff that can help them focus longer. And you know, that was actually the part that I thought I can play in these children, you know what, because they are here for studying, they are here to give their best, and I think some of them, you know what, don't have the way they can find this stuff. So it's a one-stop shop for them. We connect very nice with the TIP people, and it's very organized. They never misuse it, never had misuse of medication here. So yeah, that was my first purpose in helping the school children.
To give it a clear-cut definition, a mentor is somebody that is a thought partner of a student. You bounce ideas off, and in a way, you empower that child to have a sense of, I can make it, because this person believes in me. The people that allowed me to be on tip believe in me. And in a way, you are breeding an excellent human being for the outside world, for his family, and let's say for the next child. Because allowing someone to mentor you creates a vibe of, listen, if that guy has done all these things, if this guy can believe in every little thing that I am without me really sitting back and thinking, oh wow, I'm great, I'm brilliant. But this person tells me every day with every conversation, this person tells me, listen, believe in yourself. If you put your mind to it, if you do the work, anything is possible. Anything is possible. And one thing is, I don't want them to always feel like, no, I'm coming from a disadvantaged area, no, I should stand out, these kids are all, you can be better than them.
I believe that when we talk about talent, we also talk about nurturing, because talent needs to be nurtured. When we talk about flowers, if you are a gardener, you're supposed to have time to make sure that you actually remove weeds, you prune the leaves, and as a result of that pruning process, it might be a very painful process, but as time goes on, we are better able to have a flower blooming, but it's a process. So for us not to actually have that aspect of mentorship, some of these learners or these children are coming up from communities, families that lack support systems. So I find as a result of us having mentorship, if they are closely mentored, at school here we've got life skills teachers, they are there to mentor and guide these learners. And also as teachers, we're also there to ensure that we reinforce that in our classroom. So as a result of that, it's very important. I think that aspect of mentorship has to be there, because if in the absence of that support system, just like flowers, they will wilt and die, yet they were supposed to bloom into something beautiful.
I was able to be exposed to a new environment. I was able to be exposed to a different culture, and I was able to definitely discover who I am and who I want to be and what I want my future and my destiny to look like.
The importance of the ad hoc management and the coaching and mentorship is that it's a guidance. What we've discovered is that with that process, NACA could be able to discover what he wants to become. Experience-wise, historically, what we've known, the San people, they go up to a certain grade. Especially secondary schools become tough to them. They end up withdrawing, going back to stay at the village for good. But what I've seen, what we pushed with NACA, with the mentoring and coaching, he was able to push even beyond grade 10.
As a mentor to a few of you, I hope I also offered some life lessons and guidance to help along the way. I learned from you also, and I thank you for that.
Without TIP, I could have ended up pregnant because I come from Katima, and then people there believe in something called a vibe. So they believe drugs is the way forward, parties all night, you failing is normal. So if I was not here right now, I believe I could be part of those people who think that failing is normal and parties and sex without protection is normal. So I thank God I'm here.
My life would be very different because I was planning on going to Rondo Secondary, and there usually there are kids who influence others, maybe in, let's say, in drinking and smoking. So when I came to this school, I was able to focus more on my studies and be able to check what career am I going to become in the future.
And we had challenges where, for example, some of the learners had disciplinary issues in the schools, and that we had to then come up to the schools and speak to them about the challenges that they're experiencing, and also be able to help them to understand what are the background, what are the issues, and be able to really defend and speak up for the children, but at the same time to really think about how do we make sure that this environment is not discriminatory to the child that we're speaking about. And then as the young people became, of course, older, they started to explore the world. They started to kind of think about what is it that they want to do and what are the things that they're passionate about, where is it they want to go. And as they started to kind of blossom into who they are individually, we started to see a lot more independence from them. So really what we ended up doing between 2017 up until point by where we are now is seeing a lot of these young people then really leading their own and charting their own destinies.
When I started, I wanted to be a doctor, but then going forward I realized that there is like everyone's dream to be a doctor, and it was really not something I was passionate about. And the program helped me determine that I really don't want to be a doctor, because we had this aptitude tests where you figure out what you want to be. And I realized that business is something I'm really passionate about, so I'm trying to pursue that like after school. And the program really helped me to come to the decision of changing my major. I wouldn't have become the person I am today because of all the development programs they have and all the girl camps and everything they have for us really helped me to develop as a person and develop my character. TIP has assisted me in career guidance, also through various individuals that I've met through TIP, like Aunt Helena also. She's a very kind and caring person. She also helps us with varsity applications as well. Also the part of psychological help. Before I got into TIP, it was really stressful on me. I'm wondering when my next meal is going to come, or whether I'm going to go with school books or not.
What I can tell you is that sometimes the faraway places, I've seen a lot of the children there, you know, I don't think they are always so privileged than the guys in Windhoek, in the capital. I've seen these children also want to become something, but you know, I also grew up in a very small town. You get a little bit of clustered there. It's far away from civilization. You know what? There's a lot of people, and you know, it's not always the privilege for them to have these type of things to back up themselves. Né? And I think I have a passion for children. Somebody that wants to become a success one day. That is something for me. I like to listen to success stories. And I think these children have a lot of, there is already success stories, and I think there's still a lot to come. I like the discipline of these children. I like the way they pitch up at the event. They're always grateful, they're always friendly, they're always very good. There's nothing wrong with them. And I love that type of self-discipline, yeah. So from my side, that's why I tried to do my best to invest in them. You cannot invest in anybody or in everybody, but for this it was easy because there was 28 scholars when I started, you know what, and you know it's controlled.
It's a village that raises a child, and when you think about the primary stakeholders, of course it's the child themselves informing us and saying, these are my needs, this is where I'm at, this is what I need support with, and then responding to their specific need. broad spectrum of support and partnerships that we've been able to establish and goodwill that has come as a result thereof has just been incredible. We've got partners in private sector that are funding part of the program as well, saying we're going to pay for the school fees of X number of learners. Others will say, for example, we can only afford to pay for their transport to the regions, etc. So we've seen both private sector, government, as well as even individuals and even NGOs who have participated in these programs. We've seen psychologists provide pro bono services to this to the fellows as well. So we've pretty much seen a full spectrum of support across sectors and people that we never even thought, and organizations and industries that we never thought was going to be even part of it, see them kind of come alongside and say we want to also contribute towards making sure that this program works.
Commas Medical Center is a multidisciplinary medical practice. We primarily focus on GP, general practitioners, who helps with day-to-day consultations, but we also have access to diagnostic imaging, blood tests, physiotherapists, biokinetists, dietitians, psychologists. So the TIP kids had access to all these services depending on their needs. I think my first experience with the TIP kids, I was extremely intimidated to go to and this is maybe the 4th or the 5th time that I say this, because I would have been with the First Lady for the first time of my life. And when I got there, the intimidation didn't come from the First Lady, it came from these kids. They're extremely talented, they're extremely clever, and I think by wanting to achieve how I understood what the First Lady wanted to achieve, I think it is just fair to also give these children access to private healthcare, so that they, when they are sick, can come to the same places where the other kids go to. So in my personal opinion, yes, it helped a lot. If one of these kids, for example, had heat stroke on a athletic day, and then they can come to a private doctor, get private services, being treated as if they are from the private sector.
I'm not a sick child. I've not been a sick child ever since I grew up. I've not been a sick child, nothing. So I came to grade 8, and later on the scholarship found out, and they catered for me to go to a psychology. I visited a doctor. That was grade, I think, 10. I visited a doctor at one of these hospitals that through the TIP we were sponsored, and they suggested that I go to a psychology. And so then I got help, and yeah, so now I can say that was like, for me, because honestly it wasn't just a matter of a medical issue. For me, that brought like, whoa, an emotional burden on me. I would say I would be not insecure, but I would be closed off and whatnot. But the TIP helped me through literally basically going to visit a doctor, where people like the mentors like Auntie Veronica would open a platform for you to be honest with them, to tell them, because it's not easy to go up to somebody and be like, oh yeah.
Usually you don't get that some psychological support at home because everyone is busy with their own thing. So with a program, like, you really could get that extra help when you needed it, especially when you're going through things like teenagers usually go through a lot of depression and all those things. I personally didn't go through depression, but you always need that extra help from someone just to tell you that, okay, you're gonna be fine, like, don't stress too much about this, like, you're gonna get through it and all that. So that really helped, because like usually like grown-ups don't usually help you with all those things, because they always have their own things that they worry about, so they can't be there stressing about how you are developing as a person. So that they really help with development and character development and how you build up your confidence, because I know personally I don't have that much confidence, and the program really helped me to build up that much confidence to can speak in front of people and all that.
These children, in the first place, they have to realize that the opportunity of accessing quality education was made possible by one person, supported by professional staff and managers. But that one single person had to knock so many doors. She did not feel proud that she did not knock on doors. And knocking on those doors attracted an inclusive support from a corporate world, support from professional teams, technical expertise, which was in most cases voluntary. She also received financial support. A program like that attracted about a budget of 3.6 million in the early years. So the First Lady had to knock on those doors and knock on those hearts, caring hearts, to get those resources, to be able to put those children through. They needed care, they needed to have stipends to buy their cosmetics, they needed to travel back homes across the country with public transport, and they also had to be paid for in the hostels that they are living.
I remember the other time we went to Windhoek, and the First Lady was there giving a speech and taught us a lot about life, and not only school, and about tertiary education, about different careers, about how you can choose other careers, especially using your talent and not only focusing on school as so, because not everyone is good in school.
TIP shaped my future because I remember in 2018 when we went to meet the First Lady for the first time, and we went there and I tried seeing other opportunities such as donations from outside which were contributing to our TIP program. And then in 2019, back to the B2 Gold, we were doing some assessment which will try to discover yourself, and that tried to help me choose to be a computer person in life, like in the future.
A few times that I was called out by Helena Kudi at that stage, who helped a lot and phoned me a lot about the kids. It was a huge honor to be associated with them. It was a huge honor to doctor them. And from my side as a medical practitioner, I think they added a lot of value in my life. And I was extremely excited every time I was called about them. And I hope they can say the same about Commerce Medical and the treatment we give them as well.
I actually just realized that I have music aspirations and business aspirations. So I think I'll be pushing more on, I'll be learning and pushing more on how to become a young business person, though I'm still in school and focusing on my studies.
Let's have been incredibly amazing and humbling. We have one of the best performing learners at Gymnasium. Is part of our program, even at Windhoek High. Many of these learners have won full colors, half colors, academically in academic merits. Some have broken school records, regional records, even as far as South Africa as well. Many of them have traveled across the border and have achieved fantastic achievements. One of our fellows, for example, won the CakeNet debating championship. And in the choir competition as well. Another one broke the 5,000 meter athletics record both here in Windhoek and then in South Africa as well. So we've seen a lot of these young guys perform academically exceptionally well, but also in extramurals as well. As far as we've seen many of these young people becoming leaders. A couple of them are SRCs, or LRCs actually. A couple of them are LRCs, hostel prefects, leading the specific hockey teams or soccer teams, etc. And what that tells us is that when we give opportunity, people will always thrive beyond their wildest dreams. And what we've seen with many of these young people from the time that they joined to the time that they are now, would have never believed, and they themselves always testify and say, I would never thought I even had the capability or the competency to actually be able to take up a position of this nature or be able to perform at the level that I'm able to perform here. And that's really about that building confidence in something that you cannot measure. But when you see it happen, it's literally transformative to somebody's lives.
Being part of the program helped to develop my social skills, which is a key factor in becoming an engineer, which is what I'm planning on doing next year.
Well, my dream is just to help my family, try to change my background and increase my living standards, and also a master's degree or a PhD in computer science.
So what we want is somebody to be able to say that I have everything that I need to fulfill my potential, and whatever that potential means. So we don't expect all our learners to be straight A students. We don't expect all our learners to go into the science field. We expect them to be incredible leaders in the industries that they choose, knowing that they have the tools that they need to thrive in that space. and that they can, as they're thriving in that space, are also able to then, as they've received that, pay that forward to those who are around them and be able to lift their friends, their peers, their community members along with them on that journey. And so for us, a win is really saying, have we provided enough for you to be an incredible leader in your industry?
So obviously after I'm done here, I would like to further my studies at university. And then the scholarship, what they do, we're on this WhatsApp group, and they often like daily send pictures of different bursaries that can happen. Like they inform us about universities, applications that have opened, and such and that opportunities that you normally wouldn't be able to like be aware of. They like expose that to you, or they like reveal that to you.
We're talking about driven individuals that know at the end of the day, if I don't put in the work, at the end of the day, I'm going to be a failure, not just to myself, but to the program as well. People that believed in me, put me in this position to become something. I've spoken to boys like Ngaka, Ricuvera. I've asked them, listen, guys, you're almost at the end. What are the plans? What are the ideas you guys have to achieve what you came here for? And the type of answers that I've got, my goodness, just great, just great. So I believe in them as much as they believe in us, as the mentors, as the guardians, as the supervisory staff.
I think what gives me great joy is that many of the learners, we've built a personal relationship, and it's different for every one of them. I feel like a father of 28 kids. All of them have their own personalities, all of them have their own perspectives about how life should be and how they operate. And seeing them transition and coming into their own and becoming mature and taking responsibility and leading has been incredible to see.
What I've seen is the kids who really, what an amazing opportunity in the first place for them to have this wonderful privilege. And I've really seen them blossom from young insecure children to the young, with good character, the kids that the young adults that they have become today. And that is what I want to see for more and more Namibian children, because that's the only way that we are going to eradicate poverty in Namibia and really make a change, a positive change in our socio-economic development.
I've been part of the program for approximately 3 years, and honestly I feel like it's been the best 3 years of my life, because especially because of COVID, the past 2 years have been quite hectic. And Flon put me personally in a safety bubble. I didn't really have to think about finances.
So COVID really disrupted our program because it pretty much meant, for example, just thinking from a financial perspective, the closures of schools, up and down closures of schools meant we depleted our yearly budget for transport, which normally takes about a year to finish, in about 2 months. When you think about how disruptive COVID was, the fact that when somebody, for example, is infected or there's a suspected case of COVID, the school closes down. Many of these kids don't have family or friends in Windhoek. They had to travel back, and then the process between that exposure and going back home and the anxiety that comes with that as a result thereof. Some of them also were also diagnosed with COVID as well, were exposed to COVID, and so we had to provide medical support for many of them as well, psychological support for them and some of their family members. Some also lost family members as a result thereof. So the effects that we saw on COVID on a larger scale in the country were also in our microcosm of the TIP program as well, happening in real time. It meant that our programs and the plans that we had for example, for gatherings and for engagements, etc., were completely disrupted. The learners couldn't go to school anymore. They had to do tutoring. One of our learners, for example, mentioned how when the Shebeens closed, she couldn't do her online learning because she goes to the Shebeen to go charge her phone to do online learning. So that already puts a different spin about how we think about even the presence of Shebeens and liquor stores in, for example, our regions, and what young people use those spaces for their educational outcomes. So those are some of the things that we started to realize.
But you learned yourselves about character building, about determination after failure in some cases, how to lift yourselves up, and about integrity, which is critical. And you had the First Lady as your main mentor. How amazing is that?
It has been amazing and it's finally coming to an end. So I would like to say thank you to Flon, our amazing mother, and for everyone that made this journey possible.
First, my warm congratulations on reaching this step in your life's journey. It's the end of one part and the beginning of another. I met you all when you seemed so little, and now 5 years later, you've grown. Such amazing changes.
I want to say thank you so much to the First Lady for investing in me and believing in me, and also to everybody else that was part of the scholarship. I am truly grateful. No amount of words can express how grateful I am.
Sometimes all one needs is a helping hand, and TUP has been more than that to me, but also a blessing. And I'll always be grateful to what the program has done for me.
I just want to say thank you to the First Lady for making this possible. I will forever be grateful.
I really just want to say thank you, especially to the First Lady, for the financial support and for always being there to listen to us when we have problems, because she's always willing to listen if you come with any, might it be a small problem or a major problem, she's always willing to listen. And I just want to say thank you for that, because she really showed us that there are people out there caring about others, and that really is a good thing.
I never actually had this opportunity to talk to the First Lady myself and to be able to think. And my mom always told me, like, if you get an opportunity, if you see her, if you get to talk to her, try and think her. But then now I'd like to use this opportunity to just say thank you, because she has really done a lot for me as a person. She changed me, she made me the person I am today, and she gave me the opportunity to live again, to be more free and to be more open and to see more things in life.
They've offered me a life-changing opportunity that I think I made use of. They gave us a full 5-year sponsor, which you don't get anywhere, and that's actually fortunate for me to get it, and I'm very grateful.
I just want to say thank you. Without you, I don't know where I would be.
I could say more, but sure, I'm really thankful for a lot. Yeah.
I'm very grateful for the First Lady for helping me since grade 8 up until now. You have really been a huge inspiration to me. Thank you so much. I don't even have the words to say how grateful I am. My parents' side as well, because you have really helped us a lot, not just financially, but also I think I can actually call her my second mom.
I love these kids, and I've had the privilege of seeing them, how they developed, not only through the program, but really in school and as young adults. So for them, I just wish them so many blessings, and I really wish them all the success in the future, and I really look forward to the impact that they will have in Namibia in the future.
The investment we're making, we're hoping that this learner will be able to be in a position where they're going to be able to be successful and be able to raise their families from poverty. And as they're doing that for their families, be able to raise their communities also from poverty as well. So it's really an investment, not just in the 25 fellows that we have, but really an investment in the nation of closing that gap and really building the Namibian house that is inclusive, that speaks to moving people from point A to point B, where point B is better, because that transition, unfortunately, of inequality continues to remain, and education has proven to be that bridge that we're able to help people to move.
Some say a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. And I believe that they've already made strides, because in terms of orientation, in terms of emotional support, they've got a lot of that. And I think that they will be able to make it anyway. So as it is like that, I believe that they are supposed to make sure that they remain focused. They're supposed to make sure that they do not maybe derail from the focus of what they're supposed to achieve in life. And they're also supposed to make sure that they continue working hard and also retain the same aspect of actually ensuring that others who were left out because they didn't get this opportunity will be better able to be held by them once they get to do better in life.
Because at the end of the day, we want them to aspire to something great. And One thing that I always say is a dream might look like something that's a far distant thing if you believe in it, if you work hard, if you take each and every opportunity that you're given. Sky's the limit and beyond that as well. So I would like to say thank you to the TIP program. I would like to say thank you to the kids, because my philosophy is, I know it's wrong, but when they leave, I hide, because the crying and stuff, I'm an emotional person, so I just feel they are going out to be great, but the goodbye, I hate goodbyes. So I just want to thank the TIP program. I want to thank each and every kid for the journey, because they've learned a lot, we've learned a lot from them as well. So thank you.
After school, I'm planning on giving back as well. So I want to indulge in maintenance law, which has to do with fighting for the Namibian child to get fund from his or her mother, the father's side especially. So I also want to give back to society, just like how the First Lady helped me, because I believe there's some people out there like me. So I want them to share my life story with them so that they can at least also get something I received growing up.
They've offered me a life-changing opportunity that I think I made use of. They gave us a full 5-year sponsor, which you don't get anywhere, and that's actually fortunate for me to get it, and I'm very grateful.
When tunapandula makama mama fuatela mtekulange yamepandula wana wange yamepandula mama fuatela kuikwambala tuluwane chwange kwa yapandula makama kete muhone wana wange yaro kumaleka.
Words of gratitude. I lay on my bed and thoughts and words tell me that the day will not be great. But honestly, I look forward to the next morning, because let me not lie to you, let me not be a hypocrite. That will be a buzz off. Really, I wake up and know that there's somebody who invested in me. First Lady, you may not have been there to motivate me or have not been there to give me hugs or whatnot, but honestly, through TIP, there has been people that, even if you were not there, that gave me hugs, people that gave me words that I needed, and above all, people that made me learn how to think, not to be an emotional person, not just to feel and do, but to think before I do. So honestly, TIP fellows, thank you so much. I have maybe not been the perfect daisy or the perfect flower, but thank you so much for putting up with me. And yes, thank you.
To me, it is very pleasing to realize that the TIP learners have become themselves through the TIP mentorship and the TIP secondary education training, that eventually they should be able to cope with post-secondary education training. And the message I have for them is, one day they should be able to excel at tertiary education level. And once they do, they may get employed and they may earn a very good salary. But they may as well put up their own companies. Should they succeed at that, they should just reflect and look back and try to think where they started, that it was all about helping them to walk their life out of the cycle of poverty. So the First Lady, having played her role with the 25, they can just then consider each one of them taking one person out of the cycle of poverty. Then the TIP legacy can be sustained.